Right, we are.
And I'm recording.
I am recording now as well.
Recording.
Recording.
Whoa, what was that? All right. Everybody ready to sync up?
Yes. Let's see. On the count of 3, everybody say, "Where the hell have you been?" 1, 2, 3. Where the hell have you been?
That'll be fun in editing. Well, so welcome back to the Irreverent Skeptics show. We've been off for a few months on hiatus, as I like to call it.
Yes.
Sabbatical, hiatus, whatever you want to call it. We've been lazy as fuck and haven't recorded for a little while. Yeah. Arno and Brandy are not with us tonight, but they're still on the show, so no worries there.
We all know that the Finnish audience is a big segment of our listening audience, so it's very important to keep Arno going. Yeah.
I think that's probably 2 of our 7 downloaders.
Hey, that's an increase of 1 from our maximum of 6 last time. So
we're living the dream, boys. We're living the dream.
We're practically podcasting gods.
Watch out, Serial. Here we come. So, hey, Mike, we got some feedback. Feedback.
Yeah, from God only knows how you say this name, but Luquasis Faltura. Greetings, you half-brain spawn of Neanderthals. I recently listened to the sonic pollution that you generously refer to as a podcast, specifically episode number 27, George Orwell's 1984 and Other Dystopian Stories. After seeking immediate medical attention for the blood gushing from my ears and the involuntary emergency evacuation of my bowels caused by the drivel spewing from your ignorant heretical mouths, I didn't fully grasp the warning contained in the meme in your show notes until it was too late. I felt compelled by all that is good, holy, and righteous to comment on the pathetic dystopian state of our current society as demonstrated by the complete and utter ignorance of the quote-unquote cast.
You're welcome.
First, your suggested reading list of books that any self-respecting erudite would have read many times over by the time they were 16 and not strangled by their mother's apron strings, and yet none of the... Wait. Let me start this over again. First, your suggested reading list of books that any self-respecting erudite would have read many times over by the time they were 16 and not strangled by their mother's apron strings, and yet none of the cast had ever read, and having seen the movie does not count. Go back to your meth pipes and Cheetos, you slug-faced cretins. Much less heard of, inexcusably left off one of the classics of the Western canon of dystopian literature, Brave New World. I'm so glad to hear in our new swipe left to think culture that one among you, the unfunny one, was able to drag himself away from his Mountain Dew and Doritos-fueled video game binge long enough to flail wildly at the keyboard and Google a suggested reading list. It's on my list is not the same thing as reading. But your oversight is grotesque and appalling. Second, the synopsis of Oryx and Crake by the one with the bestiality fetish for horses, TMI, you smut-peddling, self-loathing former religious nutbag, demonstrated both a poor grasp of the English language and the inability to Google. Did you know, for example, that Oryx and Crake is part of a trilogy? No, of course you didn't. Why did I even bother? If you were able to read beyond a 3rd grade level, you would have discovered that the subsequent books further explain the world introduced in the first book, and that you are in fact wrong about most things. Third, I could go on, but I grow weary of spoon-feeding you morons a literary education that would be sufficient for you to pass a 6th grade English exam. Suffice it to say, I'm going to go gargle some antifreeze and spray WD-40 in my ears in an effort to rid myself of the lingering symptoms from allowing that noxious bile into my neural pathways. Irreverently and skeptically yours, LF.
So, he's a fan.
That is why we do the show, right there. That is why we do the show.
Give that man a Cupid doll.
Mm-hmm. Oh, don't we have to... He sent us feedback. We have to send him something.
Do you know this guy, John? I don't know. So, Mr.
Well, I take my dog walking every day, and she drops some things I could call prizes that I could send him in the mail.
Yes.
Yeah, there's that.
That'll work. All right.
All right. Hey, Mike.
By the way, where do I get the link to the live video so that I can bring people in from social media or whatever?
That's a very good question.
Why would you ask complicated shit like that?
It's fine. We don't need viewers.
All right, hang on. No. That's for adding people. Hang on, if you want to watch, why would you do that? But if you want to watch,
Well, we are live.
hang on.
Is there a purpose to that?
No, you can send them to the YouTube Irreverent Skeptics page. Irreverent.
Irreverent Skeptcast.
One moment.
Our YouTube page. This is entertainment. We are providing you with science and knowledge.
Oh, son of a bitch! I just
Facts and
realized
data and stuff.
I'm doing it on my account, not on Irreverent Skeptics, because I'm a jackwad.
Jonathan Ownby.
That,
Okay, whatever. Moving on.
That's my bad. Hang on, I'm trying to... Just give me 1 second. Fuck's sake.
This level of... Folks, this is the level of competence you can expect from us in future episodes.
Duh. Hang on, here we go. Here we go.
Consummate professionalism.
Open up. There,
So,
here
Mr.
we go.
Bowie,
Here's a
you
link.
oil company shill, how have you been lately?
Doing pretty good. Doing pretty good.
You can join it there. Hey, Mike, let's talk gay marriage.
Oh, well, but John, I'm already engaged.
No, it's mandatory now.
Oh, so I hear.
You will marry me, damn it.
What will Brandy think?
And then in 6 months, the rest of you will marry me. It'll be a polygamous gay marriage, because that's how it rolls.
That's you let one foot in the door, they're just gonna bring the whole parade in. Yeah.
I'm kind of engaged to my lawnmower.
I've heard that's a thing.
I'm pretty sure that's in the list of things that's coming. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of things are in the list of things that's coming, but you have to be 18 to see it.
So on June 26th of this year, 2015, and for those of you listening years from now,
the years of the future.
For those of you listening to the backlog, when we're as big as any other podcast, and never
Bigger.
Anyway, so in June 26th of this year, the Supreme Court of the United States, in a 5-4 vote, ruled that the Constitution guarantees a right to same-sex marriage. And of course, all kinds of jackassery and horse shit has followed.
Oh yes.
One of my favorite topics, for more reasons than one, is the self-immolating jackasses.
That was really strange.
Yeah, so Texas pastor Rick Scarborough, while speaking with E.W. Jackson, a right-wing minister and politician, on the National Emergency Coalition show, a podcast linked to Jackson's group, Staying True to America's National Destiny, Stand.
God, are you kidding?
Wow. Speaking about his commitment to traditional values in the face of public condemnation, said, quote, we are not going to bow, we are not going to bend, and if necessary, we will burn, end quote.
So, technically the guy didn't say he was going to set himself on fire, but...
Hey, asshole, you're taking my lines.
But I thought it was funny, and I was feeling this great sense of schadenfreude of all these people crying about how, oh, it's so terrible, now my marriage means nothing. So I sent the guy a box of matches that I ordered on Amazon. I sent it to his P.O. box. And, the thing he said, though, we're not going to bow, we're not going to bend, and if necessary, we will burn. Something a lot of people missed is it's actually kind of an obscure reference to a song by a musician named Arthur Smith called "The Fourth Man," and it's a story. It's a song about the story of Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego from the Bible, who were these guys who refused to bow down to King Nebuchadnezzar, who had built this golden idol and was saying that everybody had to worship his god, and as punishment they were thrown into a fire. And they were saved from the flames by an angel. And the actual line from the song is, they wouldn't bend, they wouldn't bow, they wouldn't burn. So, yeah.
Also, a lot of people not aware that King Nebuchadnezzar commissioned and had named after him a ship that fought the machines that controlled the Matrix. Just saying.
Unfortunately, no one can be told what the Bible is. You have to see it for yourself.
Okay, so... I was having a grumpy John day, and I heard someone talking about this. I think Brandy actually mentioned.
Were you having your
incidents talking about this? Yeah, something like that. And I just went on a bit of a rant about how ridiculous it is, how everyone's taking this out of context, because to me it's an unfortunate example of the kinds of dumb shit that the skeptical community does on occasion to discredit itself while trying to discredit someone who actually needs to be discredited. He didn't actually say he was going to light himself on fire. Nowhere in that single sentence did he suggest that, but hyperbole won the day on this one, and smartasses all across the skeptosphere, ourselves included, jumped on it like Bill Cosby on an unconscious playmate.
Oh, God. Oh, no. Oh, God. Putting my dick where it don't belong. Anyway, so... So, yes, I made a joke about this. And you know what? I think if I say, I'm going to go down there myself, and if necessary, some ass is going to get kicked, I'm saying I'm going to kick some ass, not that somebody else is going to kick somebody's ass. So, that's just me. I thought it was funny. I know he didn't actually mean he was going to set himself on fire, but the Schadenfreude, it was fucking delicious, and I couldn't resist.
I get that. I don't know. I have trouble with it sometimes. I guess for me, it comes down to how seriously should we take ourselves and the things other people say. I don't know.
And for me, it was how seriously should I take this guy?
Here's the thing. So when suddenly my phone and my interwebs are exploding with, this guy says he'll set himself on fire if gay people get married, I'm thinking, whoa, some asshole said he'd set himself on fire if gay people get married. So I go look into it, and nowhere did this guy actually say, I will set myself on fire if gay people get married. That's part of it. Like, well, for fuck's sake, you guys are all telling me that's what this guy said, and all he actually said was, I can't really quote the Bible or songs about the Bible specifically, so I just kind of made my own interpretation, and it sounds like I'm really heroic, but in fact, I'm going to go stuff my face with some KFC after this show's over and count the money that my flock has given me, and oh yeah, gay people shouldn't get married. No, that's pretty much all he really said.
John, you've really offended me now. It's not KFC, it's Chick-fil-A. Get it right.
That's right.
Yes. So what's really kind of twisted about this, though, is this one guy who people interpreted, maybe humorously, as saying he was going to set himself on fire. There actually was a progressive minister who lit himself on fire as a protest of the way that LGBT people are treated in this country. So that was and people were getting the two of them confused because a lot of the people were hoping that it was Rick Scarborough that had done it, but alas, it was not.
This brings me to another point. Just so you know, everyone out there, all 7 of you listening, lighting yourself on fire to make a point like that really just makes people think, damn, that motherfucker's crazy. He lit himself on fire. That's only the point. That's the only point you're really making. Because
unless you agree with the sentiment, then
I do agree with the sentiment, but I don't think, oh wow, that was a great choice. He set himself on fire to draw attention to the struggles of the gay and lesbian community. Yeah, I don't think that really helped so much. Because
speaking of which, there's this guy that double parks in my office every day. I'm going to go light myself on fire in protest of that.
If anything, it just kind of adds fuel to the look. See, aren't they fucked up? Crowd.
Fire.
Huh? You like that?
I think it would have to match the severity of what's going on. Like if there was like a lot of death surrounding it, like real brutality and stuff that like you're in the midst of like a huge like police brutality event or whatever, putting yourself on fire might be.
And if there wasn't a whole lot of
what you're saying is, had this happened in like Baltimore, this would have been a good. So anyway.
Oh. Yeah, well, I think I understand. I get your point, dumbass. It's kind of like this is the sort of thing that you would do to draw attention to something if there isn't a lot of attention and it really needs attention. But in terms of the equal rights movement in America, it's kind of hard not to say that there's already been a lot of attention about it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. There's nothing I feel so strongly about that I would set myself on fire for it. So I'm not so sure. I don't know if I find him to be really spirited or really crazy.
I mean, that's true. I mean, you can probably do more good by staying alive and adding your voice to the mix a lot for most of the time.
Yeah. And if you're just tired of it and you want to cash out, then, like, I guess that's one way to go, but just tell everybody that so we know what you're really doing.
Jump off the Empire State Building holding a banner.
Make sure it's got many colors, though, so it's...
and put a GoPro camera on yourself.
You'll want that to be uploading automatically while you're jumping, because everything gets destroyed upon impact.
So what you do is you wear a vest packed with explosives, wear a GoPro on your head, on each of your hands, on each of your feet, and just walk in somewhere and then set yourself off, and all the cameras go flying off in different directions, and it becomes viral on YouTube, and millions of people see this, and it becomes bigger than the frickin' Gangnam Style video, and everybody says, "Oh my God, this is a movement I need to pay attention to," and the world has changed.
I always thought the lowest level of depravity we would hit would be something I would have said.
Are you kidding?
That's awesome.
My favorite reaction
that was fucking great.
My favorite reaction to the whole gay marriage thing. I put this. The Amateur Skeptics talked about it. I wasn't able to join in on that episode, although I did say a few words in the next episode coming out soon. But it was the thing about Tom DeLay saying that he had found a memo of the 12 perversions.
Yes.
Yeah, the 12 perversions that the government is planning to release. A secret memo. They're planning to legalize 12 new perversions. And he
I think what you really found, I think what happened was there was a guy who was standing on a street corner with a sandwich board sign on, and he had this big scraggly beard and a floppy top hat with the top torn open, and he said he was a government man come from the government, and he had a scrap of paper with 12 different things listed on it, and it said things like Lego bricks and cheesy fries, and he said, "This is a list of new perversions that the government's going to legalize."
Is that like Cheetos cheesy fries, or like fries with cheese on them?
Like actual cheesy fries, or it might have been poutine. I don't know. He could have been Canadian. I don't know, but so it's just what. I'm sorry. Why, if the government is going to legalize a bunch of perversions, why would they have a secret list that they just give out randomly to Congress people? Or he's not even a congressman anymore. He's just some random fuckhead. But it's like,
well, he got it through subterfuge and
subterfuge. He's not smart enough for subterfuge.
Somebody leaked it, I guess.
God.
And I'm still.
And he knows it's legit.
Well, I'm still trying to figure out why he thinks it's legit. I mean, the Department of Justice, they don't make laws; they enforce them. It's not. I mean, until you get Congress to pass the, you can have sex with a lawnmower. This is totally.
There's no law.
Hey, dumbass is not bound. Dumbass is not bound to American restrictions.
That's true. I don't know what the hell.
They only gave the first three. They gave. He said sex with little boys. Bestiality, and
there's
polygamy.
already states where that's legal. There are states in America where bestiality is still legal. I hope he knows that.
Please don't be.
I'm assuming one of the other ones is having sex with a flagpole that's flying the stars and stripes. But that's as far as I can get.
That's an obligation as a citizen.
I was just saying, I think that's a rite of passage, isn't it?
You
don't know what we do when we're 14
right now. I just googled the phrase states where bestiality is legal. I feel like I'm on a list now.
I'm on several.
This cannot be good.
Why don't you just have a seat right over there?
I also do own the website Pornhub.horse, so there's that.
Nice.
Wait, .horse is a...
.horse is a domain. So apparently there's several dozen or 100 new domain name extensions that you can get now, including .islam, .guru, .horse, all sorts of things. Yes, I bought the website Pornhub.horse because it was still available, and it cost me about $20 for the year. So
I'm gonna have to get some of my domains in .horse.
Yes. Whitehouse.horse. .horse. Oh God.
All right, let's see. So some of the other attempts to fight the SCOTUS decision, or as I like to call them, governmental passive aggression. There's just been a whole slew of clerks and judges that won't uphold the decision. Mike Buller mentioned that earlier.
So,
yeah, please say something about it, because all I have to say is just how goddamn ridiculous it is.
Kentucky, West Virginia, New Jersey, Ohio, Vermont, New Hampshire, Nevada. Let's see. I think is that Arizona or New Mexico? Arizona. I'm so bad with the map. And Texas and Alabama. Bestiality is legal in all of those states. So Tom DeLay. See, where is Tom DeLay from? Do. Time for fun time with Google and data mining. Do. Tom DeLay. He is from Texas, where it's legal. So maybe he was excited. Maybe the 12 new perversions that he was talking about, he was excited to hear these things were being made legal.
Attaboy, Tom.
Without delay.
So there's also been different pizza places and wedding cake companies that refuse to cater to same-sex weddings.
Oh my God.
Yeah, congratulations! You're making a great stand. You fucking idiots.
And I just recently, in the last week, there was
no cake for you.
No cake for you. Oh God, the Republican debate, the first Republican debate they had, they brought up marriage equality, not marriage equality, but religious freedom is the subject they kept bringing up, as if you don't maintain religious freedom in this country. Like, so one of the things I kept hearing after the Supreme Court decided that gay marriage was legal nationwide is all these right-wing blogs and WorldNet Daily and the American Family Association talking about how, you know, all these churches are going to face, the ministers are going to face prosecution for speaking out against homosexuality or for refusing to perform gay marriages. Well, explicitly delineated in the decision was the fact that churches would not be required to perform gay marriages, and that it was just a matter of saying that the state was going to be required to allow licenses to be given to same-sex couples. But this is the sort of thing that just doesn't penetrate down into the right-wing blogosphere and the right-wing comment sphere. I see so many people, even Congress people, shortly after the decision, were posting on Facebook talking about how this posed a threat to the religious freedom of real Christians here in America. And the American Family Association sent out some message saying that Christians were under attack in America. And not only are they not under attack, they still hold the reins in most of the houses of power in our country. Their freedom of religion is not under threat. What's under threat is their ability to restrict the rights of others in the names of their religion. So, I'm sorry, guys, but we live in a country where freedom of religion is actually a thing, and where freedom of religion necessarily means you're going to have freedom from religion. The government can't get involved in pushing someone's religion, or someone's rights are going to get infringed upon.
So similarly to the few, but more than a couple people I know who have told me that they feel allowing gay marriage would damage the integrity of their traditional man and woman marriage, I would like to know what the fuck has changed since June 26th. What has changed? What is different in your house? Has your wife called you a fuckwad and just done whatever she wanted now and just forget the family, or did you just decide, well, now I got to go screw neighbor Tim, or like what exactly has changed in your marriage? Like, whatever. But
not Tim. Tim's an asshole. God.
Yeah, well, maybe you rage fuck Tim on one night, and then you go over to the other house.
Hate fucking.
Yeah. I just want to know what exactly has changed. How has your marriage been diminished? And what other ways can I laugh at your misery? Please share this. Share this with me. I really want to know.
The one guy I know in person who made this argument that it diminishes the institution of marriage.
Wait a minute. Hang on. Roll that back a second.
What?
The one guy you know in prison? Like, is there a good story here?
The one guy I know in person who said that this.
I swear you said in prison, and I was like, whoa.
I have a Midwest accent. I'm from Clucking, Michigan. Shut up, John Ombie. Nobody likes you. Whatever.
I just thought there was a good story to be had here. That's all. All right,
This
go
one
ahead.
guy I knew in prison in the biblical sense. I only know one guy in person who has made this argument that somehow it diminishes the nature of the institution of marriage. He is a 55-year-old single man who has never been married and doesn't express any sort of interest in becoming married, and yet he's still out there making all these talking point arguments that are being pushed on right-wing talk radio, like that every nation that has adopted recognition of same-sex relationships has ended up failing. And you look at the Greeks, and you look at the Romans and everything, and somehow it's the fault of same-sex marriage.
We've had gay marriage for longer than you have. But...
No kidding. Oh my gosh, Canada.
Well, if there's a country, if there's a country crumbling in the world, it's Canada. I mean,
right?
Yeah. Thanks a lot, dumbass.
You guys still have a queen, so But it's so bizarre to think of that they think this one issue is somehow going to tank the country, when all these other countries they've mentioned fell apart because of these complex social and political dynamics that just...
Which boil down to gay marriage.
Exactly. It's an undercurrent that just destroys the society from the inside out. It really is. Yeah, that makes sense. That's not insane at all. Oh gosh. Oh, so in my hometown in Michigan, the first couple to have a same-sex wedding and the first couple to have an official license for a same-sex marriage were both people I know, which was kind of nice. But the day after the decision, I think it was a district county clerk or something. County clerk had decided they were going to stop issuing licenses for marriages, and it came down from the state. Nope, you guys are going to do this. You don't really have a choice. It's your job and it's the law. So, but I love the idea that is somehow an infringement of their religious freedom. That their government employer somehow has to guarantee their right to discriminate against people in their official duties. Like, are you serious?
Well, let's see. Hey, Mike, help me out. What would be a good example of a country where Christian religious laws would supersede any other laws?
Christian religious laws. I don't know, John. What are you thinking of?
I was trying to.
Nowhere.
Well, I'm trying to think of
Is the Vatican considered its own country?
Well, there you go. So
yeah.
how about if they just ship their happy asses on over to the Vatican? Like maybe they'll have you there. Like just take your ass on out. Just oh well.
Yeah.
You don't like it? Go the fuck away. Like, I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah. If you want a country where the government and the religion
I'd hope to
are
make some good joke out of that. It just kind of flopped. So.
I don't know.
It sounded like it was working up good in my head at first. It just went nowhere. So anyway, moving on. Iowa. Yeah. So there's a couple in Iowa that plan to have 1,000 anti-gay marriage billboards around the country.
Are you serious?
Yeah. In Grimes, Iowa, after months of controversy, the Gortzhaus, whatever the hell that is, closed its doors last week in the wake of declining revenue, first for its refusal to host gay weddings, then for discontinuing its wedding business altogether.
Oh, it looks like some sort of a venue that does events.
Right. That said, that's not stopping the owners, Richard and Betty Odgaard, from continuing the fight against gay marriage. They plan to
against Odgaard marriage.
They plan to erect 1,000 billboards advertising their belief in upholding, quote, traditional marriage between one man and one woman. And the first of the 1,000 billboards went up in late July in Durant, Oklahoma, as a 14-foot by 48-foot black and white sign. And
holy cow, that's huge.
Now, knowing what I know about Durant, Oklahoma, I can't say that really surprises me. My favorite bit of self-delusion and/or total horseshit in this story is that Betty Odgaard stated, quote, "It certainly isn't coming from a hateful place. What I'm most frustrated with is that it's viewed as being hateful, and that's the last thing that I want to convey. It's just that we want to uphold the biblical view of marriage," end quote. And as we all know, the biblical view of anything is never hateful.
Oh no.
Also, just because
the biblical view of marriage isn't even just one man and one woman.
Right. Also, just because you don't want to convey it doesn't mean it isn't true.
Yeah, we can't complicate things here with facts. We don't do that on this show.
Right. I don't want to convey what a hateful shithead I am but I am, you know.
What gets me is that, so the Reasonable Doubts podcast is one that I listen to. They haven't had an episode in a while, and I miss them. Come back, guys.
That sounds familiar.
They're but they've got some really good thinkers on that show, and one of them, I don't know what he's a professor of. He might be a professor of sociology or something. I really should know that. But he's talked constantly. They have a segment called God Thinks Like You, and it's all about research into psychology and religion and how time after time after time we demonstrate that the idea of what God is and what God is like maps basically directly to people's ideas about the world and not the other way around. Mm-hmm. The idea of God as this being that is opposed to homosexuality comes from people who already have some sort of opposition to homosexuality. It's not a matter of them saying, I mean, they'll disguise it by saying that they're just saying what the Bible says. They're just saying what God thinks. They're not really hateful. But deep down, when you do psychological testing on these people and put them through experimentation, these double-blind, rigorous experiments, you find that these opinions they're expressing aren't actually coming from their religious beliefs. Their religious beliefs are things that they've adopted after the fact because of these pre-existing opinions that they have. So the idea that it's not coming from a hateful place, you're just clothing your hatred in pretty language. I'm sorry, you hate gay people. That's all there is to it. And you want to try to excuse it by saying, oh, I'm not hateful, I'm very loving. Your idea of love is so twisted. Your idea of love and compassion and acceptance and tolerance is so twisted and self-centered, I don't even know what to say to you.
Well, that's one thing that I make a point of to people, and a lot of them don't get, too, is that religion often isn't really the root cause of a lot of this as much as people like to say it is. A lot of it is more cultural values and things like that, and religion is just basically an excuse that people use over top of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, on both sides, too. It's people on both sides, whether you agree or disagree with the viewpoint, people point at religion as being the problem where, well, in fact, like this person holds this belief that's, damaging to the greater good, and that is the problem, not the religion they pin it on.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. They've adopted a form of their religion that is based upon their pre-existing views of things, and that view is what needs to be changed, not the religion necessarily. I mean, my parents are Christians, but they're very progressive Christians. They are very accepting of everything that I accept. I mean, they're basically me plus Christianity, and it's like a very warm and friendly and loving version of Christianity. So when people say things like...
That's a really foul-mouthed Christianity if it's you and Christianity.
They're open to profanity. But,
praise motherfucking Jesus, they say.
But, I mean, they're the kinds of Christians who say that everyone is saved because of Jesus, and so it doesn't really matter what you believe, you're all okay. So when people say that religion is the problem, I say, well, no, there's certain kinds of religion that are totally compatible with a pluralistic and accepting and tolerant society. It's that these people who already have these hateful ideas are given a pass because they're saying that it's a religious belief.
Exactly.
And I remember, we haven't really talked much about the Supreme Court case itself yet, but during I listened through the oral arguments, and it was some of the weirdest stuff I've ever heard, because the people who were arguing against marriage equality, gay marriage, whatever you want to call it in your political spin, the arguments that were made were basically that marriage exists to promote children, to promote giving birth to children and raising children. And I could not find...
I don't care about it then.
I couldn't find a single argument that was made against gay marriage that wasn't about kids. And and there wasn't a single argument that couldn't also be applied to elderly couples or to infertile couples or couples that didn't want to have kids. And
me and my wife never wanted to have kids.
Yeah,
but what about the Yeah. I think you missed the jiggly pogly.
Jiggery pokery.
Jiggly pokery.
Yeah. Scalia needs to.
Flimflammery.
I think you need to get a refresher in. Go back to law school refresher courses because I don't
Scalia needs
remember.
to have a nice BM and just calm down.
He's writing an official, thing here, and he's using words like jiggery pokery. The guy,
he's a Supreme Court justice. He can do whatever the fuck he wants.
Apparently,
I bet he says that when he's getting dressed in the morning, he's doing his tie. He's like, I can do whatever the fuck I want.
And it's pretty obvious that this is a situation where people who are opposed to marriage equality are ideologically opposed to it and will not change their mind in the face of evidence, because there has been research done on the quality of upbringing for children of same-sex couples and opposite-sex couples and single parents. And the result of the study was basically that children who are raised in a two-parent home do better than children raised in a single-parent home. But this is constantly misrepresented by opponents of gay marriage as saying that children raised by a mother and a father are doing better than children raised in other households, when the sex of the parents had no effect whatsoever in the outcomes of the health of a child or the how well adjusted they were. So when people say that we need to promote traditional marriage because it's what's best for the kids, the data doesn't bear that out. Mm-hmm. It just matters if we want to promote the health.
Nobody's looking to outlaw single parentage.
No, exactly. We have plenty of single parent homes in this country, and we don't see anybody saying that this is immoral and we need to ban this and we need to make it so that kids can only be raised by couples. But it's so. I had a train of thought there and I completely lost it. So the arguments that were made against gay marriage were basically all predicated on this idea that marriage exists as a societal construct to promote children, to promote the upbringing of children, to promote the health of new citizens for the society. And
let me say something about that too. You do not need marriage in order to promote people to have children. It is not something that you have to regulate or say you should be having children. You don't need, even without marriage, people are going to have children.
Yeah, and there was
what Dumbass is trying to say is people are going to fuck without a wedding ring. That's what he's trying to say.
So there was this sense that the people arguing in the case against gay marriage were bemoaning the fact that the institution of marriage had become decoupled from parenthood. And what struck me is that they're blaming that on gay people, as if it's not straight people who have been getting married this whole time. The decoupling of parenthood from marriage, you can't blame that on someone who has been excluded from the institution of marriage. That makes no sense. That's like saying that people who drive cars are suddenly switching over to motorcycles, so we need to blame that on people who don't drive. It doesn't make sense.
All the arguments never made sense in the first place. I mean, to me, no one understands traditional marriage, what traditional marriage even was.
And what is traditional? How far back do you go to make it traditional?
Tom DeLay talked about polygamy as one of the perversions that needed to be legalized. Polygamy is in the Bible. God approves of polygamy.
King Solomon with his 300 wives and 700 concubines? Are you kidding? That's pretty traditional.
Yeah.
And how many marriages 200, 300 years ago were based on land rights and trying to gain some sort of political advantage, or just the idea that women were chattel property to be traded so that you could.
They were It was all financial.
Shit.
What'd you say, John?
I said, wait, they're not? I gotta go apologize to Brandy.
No, a lot of it was just for financial situations. there's a. I wish I could remember the book. It was what's the guy? I didn't even try to remember the guy's name. I got the book, but talking about what was life like in 1790. And there's a neat story, and actually I'm related to the guy the story's about, where it was an arranged marriage. I'm trying to remember the guy's name. I forget if it was the Scarboroughs or the Reynolds. The Reynolds family in 1790, if I remember correctly, owned basically the state of Maryland. Okay, or roughly they had that. It's half Reynolds, half Custis family, and the one this guy married, or it was actually everything was in his wife's name, and because though in Maryland a woman could legally own land, but she couldn't sell it to a man or sell it. I think she couldn't sell the property. She had to have a man sell the property. So yeah. So the idea was they set up this marriage to it was just a financial arrangement. Grabbed this fortune, basically selling off half of Maryland to speculators. But there's the story that one day the two of them were riding in a buggy and ran the buggy into the Potomac River, both of them killing themselves doing that. And it's like they just sat there and they just stared at each other while they did it. It's like a really weird story, committing suicide like that. But there's
so that nobody would own the land.
Whatever the deal was, I'm butchering the story so bad anyhow. So I could probably find that and throw that in the show notes or something. But
we'll find the
people
book.
Don't realize this idea of traditional marriage that they think is traditional marriage. It's the portrayal we have of marriage these days. It's a very new thing.
It's so new.
I mean, especially like the government never used to be involved in marriage. That only came around with Cromwell and all that junk, and he felt like it should be something that the government should be involved with. And before that, people didn't even need any documents in order to get married or anything. They just, they might have a ceremony, but they just pretty much say we're married.
So here's for you. So in Christianity, in the history of Christianity, marriage used to not be something that the church had a sacrament for, because Paul, who kind of formulated a lot of what has become Christian doctrine, he was opposed to marriage. He said that marriage was something that you should end up in only if you can't remain celibate. He was pro-celibacy, and for anybody who couldn't refrain from having sex, they should get married so that they can have sex without committing some sort of a sin. So the entire idea of marriage in Christianity is for people who are too weak to be celibate. What, John? What are you doing? Where'd you go? Where's John? You ran away?
He got fed up.
Yeah, I was just looking for that.
We kept distracting from the script, and he's back. Oh my God, he's alive. Okay.
I had a meowing cat in the background. I
wondered if I was a cat. Okay.
Mike, I was going to ask you a minute ago. Are your parents members of the United Church of Christ?
Yes, they are. How did you?
Well, okay. So when you mentioned that, it reminded me of an episode of This American Life I listened to like 10 years ago. So I looked it up. It's episode 304, and it talks about Reverend Carlton Pearson, who was a guy that he worked with Oral Roberts back in the day. Whoa. And he had this revelation. Yeah, he had this revelation where he came to the realization that hell doesn't exist and everyone is saved. And he founded this new church because that caused a split between him and the obvious, fire and brimstone Oral Roberts.
Yeah, sinners in the hands of an angry God kind of people, yeah.
Yeah, and so 10 years ago and more, his church was the first church, or the only church at the time, Christian church recognized as openly accepting gay marriage.
Yeah.
When you said that, it just that just hit in my head, and I was like, oh, I got to ask him about that. So I recommend people listen to that episode 304 of This American Life. It's a very good
Speaking about religious freedom, shouldn't it be the freedom of a religion to have a gay marriage, to do gay marriage if they want to?
There actually was a case about that. I don't remember where it was. It was like North Carolina or somewhere that the United Church of Christ sued the state because the state had passed some sort of a law that said that marriages would only be valid if a clergyman had signed off on them or something like that. Basically, the way the laws worked out in the state was that the state was not banning gay marriage, but the way two laws combined was making it impossible to perform a gay marriage. And the UCC of that state sued the state saying, we want to be able to perform gay marriages and you are restricting our religious freedom. And I think they ended up winning the case. So yeah, that was just cool. Shortly before the Supreme Court case. So yeah, they are a church that is very much an ally to the non-religious community in the course of social justice and things like that.
Okay, I found the book and the article. And actually, this is pretty good. This is from What Life Was Like in 1776 by Thomas Fleming, the Thomas Fleming Library. Here. Divorce was rare. Most marriages were for life, but not all were happy. One social commentator blamed this fact on the overemphasis on money and beauty, which too often prompted men to marry a furry or an idiot.
Furry?
A furry.
Whoa.
F-U-R-Y. A furry? F-U-R-Y?
Fury, maybe?
Fury, maybe. I don't know.
Hope.
But anyhow.
I like furry better.
Yeah.
Like a lot of our listeners, I think.
Yeah. Often the unhappy couple worked out an informal separation. Sometimes the abused wife simply ran away. Advertisement for runaway wives were almost as common in southern newspapers as ads for runaway slaves. A locally famous unhappy marriage featured...
Whoa. Heritage, not hate.
Huh?
Heritage, not hate. Sorry. America.
Oh. A locally famous unhappy marriage featured Colonel John Custis of Arlington, Virginia, and his wife Frances Park. They went for weeks without speaking. One day, Colonel Custis proposed a carriage ride. His wife accepted and soon realized he was driving the carriage straight into the Chesapeake Bay. "Where are you going, Mr. Custis?" she asked. "To hell, madame," the colonel replied. "Drive on," she said. "Any place is better than Arlington."
Wow.
To which I want to ask, if they both killed themselves, how the fuck did they get that quote? That's what I want to know.
That's a good question.
That's a very good question.
So
that reminds me of a story.
And they stopped to let off the scribe that was, recording their every word.
It's actually
it does sound kind of what's the not provincial, not proverbial. What is it? It's something that's commonly quoted but can't be proved. What's that?
Oh, I call that horse shit.
There's a term for it. Damn it. I'm blanking right now. It's the alcohol. I blame the alcohol.
All right, so to wrap up
there was a story that just reminded me of a baby that was abandoned by the side of the road, and a dog found it and dug a hole under a fence and carried the baby under a fence and then dragged it through a forest into a little hut somewhere, and the baby was discovered with the dog. How the fuck did they know any of that happened?
Yeah.
All they found was a dog with a baby.
How dare you be all skeptical and shit?
So what I like is the chain.
Oh, go ahead.
What I like is the chain emails that always say, "Why this person didn't pass on this chain email and had all these bad things happen to him and eventually died." And it's like, who's recording this?
Yeah.
Exactly. It's the family. They wrote in their obituary, "Little Jimmy didn't pass on the train letter. Oh no."
So we'll wrap up the gay marriage discussion by me just saying, basically, we all deserve what we're getting for putting up with this shit. That's right. That's how I feel. Like all of you that are outraged by it, you put up with this shit, and that's what you get. And that leads me to our next topic, which is me not giving a shit, which is a problem I seem to have lately. Being
zero fucks given.
Yeah, being a host of a skeptical podcast and having a really hard time giving a fuck about any of the things that most skeptics give a fuck about. You can see how that would be a little bit of a dilemma, and that's been a dilemma of mine lately. Oh, John, the Republicans, or whoever, are saying this about gay marriage. Like, yeah, fuck yeah, of course they are. Who gives a shit? Like, a bunch of fucking idiots. I don't care. Like, I don't want to hear about it. Oh, did you hear about the big hubbub with the new debate or the new policy about the something? I don't fucking care. That's my problem anymore. I just don't give a shit, and I don't know if I should or shouldn't. A couple of people whose opinions I value think it would be important for me to give a shit, and I don't know. So I thought maybe you guys could help me with a little discussion about the importance of giving a shit. And
abandon all hope.
It's kind of how I feel. It's like, you know what? I have this actual plan to live to 135. Part of that is a little bit of faith in science, and hoping that science.
Well, you just have faith in science, John.
Is it maybe the case that you
hang tight. Here's my point. Here's my point. I want to live to see 135. Whether or not it happens, I don't have any kids. I'm not going to have any kids, and I see like, oh well, let's see. We got a huge hole in the ozone layer. We have companies that are just kind of destroying the environment as quickly as they possibly can, and it's a really big deal for people to be like, no, that's bullshit. Global warming, that's a bunch. I still know guys that tell me that global warming is bullshit. It's not a debate anymore. It's a real thing.
I thought the ozone layer hole was better now.
Yeah, well, the point is this: like, in the end, I don't really give a shit. I'm out of here in 95 years tops, and then after that, I don't give a fuck what happens to the Earth after that. It can explode. It can dry up. All your stupid womb fruits can starve themselves to death. I don't care. I don't give a shit. I'm gone after that. So why should I give a shit moving forward from here on out? Why should I care at all? What does it benefit me to care at all at this point?
Well, let me ask you something. Is it maybe the case that you've overdosed on outrage porn a little bit?
And that has been the case before, yes. In fact, that like when Brandy and I first met, we used to discuss all these different podcasts that we both listened to. That was one thing we had in common. And since then, I don't listen to a lot of the same podcasts anymore because I'm just tired of hearing how shitty insert person or organization is here. Like, I'm tired of hearing about how, oh yeah, religious people think this, the Christians are saying that, and the Muslims say this, and the GOP wants that. I'm like, yeah, I don't fucking care. I'm tired of being upset about everything. In fact, my daily news that I read, I finally just started I'm going to uplifting news for a change. Instead of just reading the news, I want happy news. Let me hear about something good that's happened in the world in the last couple of days instead of.
So basically, you're uploading clientele. Is that what you're telling me, John? You're the clickbait guy. You're the guy who likes to click on the happy stories about puppies and shit.
No, no, it's not that. No, it's not that. I actually just kind of avoid the news in general anymore because I'm just tired of being told what I'm outraged about. Oh, aren't you terribly mad about this thing that happened? No, not really.
I do get a kick out of when stories have headlines that have the word outrage in them. Like, outrage, such and such a thing. Like, really, come on. Let me decide what I'm outraged about.
Yeah, I don't need to be told what I'm outraged about. Believe me, I can find something to be pissed off about. I don't need help.
Bro, do you get emotions?
I can find something to complain about. I don't need help with that. I promise you.
So on the subject of whether or not you should give a fuck, whether there are any fucks that should be given. Yeah. So, John, as a cisgendered white male, do you feel that there are certain things that you don't have to deal with that maybe some minorities do that are constantly impinging upon their lives that they can't escape from that maybe you can?
I'm I'm going to answer that by saying probably, and the reason I say probably is because, well, first of all, you didn't cite any specific examples, and I'm going to assume that that is the case. So probably so, yes.
Have you ever been a 13-year-old who was shot by the cops for having a toy gun?
I was a 14-year-old who almost got shot by the cops for having a toy gun.
Well, was that because there weren't any darker-skinned people around you?
I don't know I can't answer that. All I can say is my friend and I were playing laser tag at the park.
Fucking laser tag?
Laser tag. You remember laser tag?
Play laser tag with at the park?
Yeah, playing laser tag at the park.
Laser tag system?
Playing laser tag at the park. Well, they had back in the day. They had the laser tag. You got this little dinky vest and a little hexagon-shaped light thing on the, and it looked like a Cylon light going back and forth in the front of you.
So basically, you're telling me your cops were stupid.
Well, apparently the police get a call of there's two guys in the park with guns. And next thing you know, the entire police force of the city of Bethany was the name of the city, which is like a suburb in Oklahoma City.
Oklahoma.
Apparently, the entirety of the Bethany police force descended upon the park, and I've said for years, it's amazing the clarity with which instructions given by a screaming loud guy with a gun can be when that guy has a gun pointed at you. I hear people talk about how can you tell what they're saying because they're pointing a gun, they're just screaming at you. Believe me, when there's a bunch of guys pointing a gun at you, you can hear exactly what the fuck they're telling you. They say, get on your motherfucking knees, and you get on your motherfucking knees really quick. Lock your hands behind your head. You do that really quickly because there's a bunch of guns pointed at you. That was my experience. Anyway, though. I did not get shot. I will give you that. Yes.
So, I'm
not comparing my experience to someone who grows up being pretty much abused on a weekly or daily basis by the police.
That's the word. It was apocryphal. The story was apocryphal. Thank you. Okay. Yes, it was an apocryphal story about the guys in the carriage who went into the river. Anyway, so you find it hard to give a shit about things sometimes.
Right.
I think. How is your life, John? Is your life pretty good? Do you not have to deal with a whole lot of bullshit in your life?
I feel like I have to deal with a lot of bullshit, actually.
Is it mostly from your job, though?
Less so than other things. At one point, no, not really my job so much, but there's a lot of things.
Is it the dog?
No. I mean, I don't want to sit here and tell everyone my life story, but I have things that bother me throughout my life. Yeah, I have.
Is it tall people problems, John?
But here's part of it. What the fuck can you do, really? So here's a big one. I hear a lot of people lately talking about the GOP debates because that's been a big thing this week, or just the upcoming presidential elections next year. And I think to myself, it doesn't fucking matter. Oh, it's gonna be Bernie Sanders or Hillary Clinton. It's gonna be Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders or Rick Santorum or Rick Perry or Donald fucking Trump. You know what? In the end, it doesn't fucking matter. You're fucked anyway. They don't get none of them. Not one of them gives a single fucking shit about you as a person.
Are you over 35?
Yes.
Run for office, motherfucker.
Oh yeah. I'm the guy they're gonna vote for. Oh Jesus, that'll go down in flames so goddamn fast. They'll be like, oh, John Obie, here's a link to all his podcasting. Yeah, that'll be the end of it. That'll be the shortest campaign ever.
Reflects the American ethos like no one ever before. Yes, that's exactly.
I'm just saying, none of them give a shit about you, and not that many huge changes are going to happen. Oh, gay marriage and healthcare. You know what I think those are? I think those are breadcrumbs they throw to the people. That's what I think. I think, oh, here, we'll give you a breadcrumb every now and then. Meanwhile, we're fucking you over on a grand scale, and nothing's going to change, and you're not going to do anything about it because you're too busy arguing about petty, stupid shit.
So.
Yes.
Gay people can now get married.
Yes.
They're not getting fucked over, man.
Are they not?
They got something they've been fighting for since the 70s. It's a big deal for them.
Right.
So it's hard fought.
You just embodied my thought right there. Yeah, they're not getting fucked over on marriage. They're not getting fucked over on marriage. They're getting fucked over. Everybody else is getting fucked over, though.
There's So I understand where you're coming from. I really do. And I understand the sense of defeatism that can come from a government that's clearly designed not to work anymore. But I think that it makes less sense to give up than to keep fighting. I really do. I think that when the system is broken, break it more and make a new one. Make a better system. Don't just sit back and let the system be broken. That's where I come. That's why I give a shit.
And I understand that. Another thing is a big thing for me lately, like I would say within the last year, is you know what I really want more than anything? I just want to be happy. And the more I think about how fucked up shit is, I'm not happy about it. That doesn't make me happy to think about, you know, whether you agree with me or not on how we're getting fucked over. It makes me unhappy to think about it. And
you know, in some sense, I think it's okay not to give a fuck. Because not everyone has ambitions to fix everything. If you can make your life okay, and that's enough for you, that's good. I'm glad that you're happy. I want you to be happy. Well, that's what I care most about.
That's my problem is I'm not. That's my struggle is I'm not happy, and I'm having trouble being happy, and giving a shit about other things makes me. That seems to make me unhappy. Yes, please do.
I'd like to make a point. I mean, I do this podcast. I've done my podcasts. I've done other podcasts.
Which is the
Skeptics, not because I'm trying to.
Which, by the way, is a fantastic podcast, and everyone should be listening to it.
Subscribe now. Yeah. Subscribe now.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't do these podcasts for the skeptics. They've already bought in. I'm telling them nothing that they don't already know. I am hoping though that somebody's.
I listened to your podcast. I started listening to it so I could learn things I didn't already know, and I did. Thank you very much. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay. Well, that's part of it. But what I'm really hoping is that my podcasts, who have, you know, they're over on the other side. They think the Illuminati is trying to control the world and all this other bullshit. Mm-hmm. And if I can change their minds, I've made a difference. That's why I do a podcast. I don't do it for the skeptics who've already accepted. Global warming's real. I can't preach that. It's got to go out to those who aren't who don't believe it or have questions about it. So, I think it's important. Don't do it because you think it's not doing anything. I'm doing it because I'm hoping I'm making a difference in somebody's life and helping them say, "Oh, I've been believing that it's time to switch." That's why I do the podcast. So that's my personal view on all this.
Let me say what I think about that. I mean, it's hard to know if you're making a difference. Certainly, I try to when I do episodes, I try to answer people who are critical of me and try to reach out to people, and I try to be fair-minded and try to actually convince people of things. But I think what I do this for is more of just a social thing, and that's just a part of it. I like reaching out and talking to people who agree with me on these things. And I kind of get how it can be tiring. I've completely stopped, for the most part, arguing on internet forums and stuff like that because I just found that it takes so much out of me emotionally to get into all these disagreements. That whole thing about somebody's wrong on the internet, it just drains me,
My wrong sense is tingling.
But it's I enjoy getting together with you guys and talking about these things. Whether it makes a difference or not, it's because we're getting together, we're shooting the breeze, and we are doing something social, and we're putting stuff out there, and other people are coming with us, and it's a cool thing that we've got this community of people who are rational thinkers and who will listen to us and will call us when we get things wrong too.
Yeah,
and I think that's cool, that's exciting, and that's a reason to talk about this kind of stuff.
Right, and I think that's probably a big reason why I do this and still do this is because I get to talk to people who are like-minded and who I enjoy and whose opinions I respect and who I think are funny. Although to go back again to what Mike said, and
I'm not amusing at all. What the hell are you talking about?
You shut your mouth. I started listening to a Skeptics Guide to Conspiracy, Amateur Skeptics, and a number of other shows just because I'm like, okay, I already kind of agree with you guys on these things, but I figure, okay, I stand to learn things I don't already know, and also if I'm having a discussion with someone, I might get good fuel for that discussion from listening to the things that you guys said.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That has very much been the case. That's been very important to me. So
in my case, I've listened to a few of these podcasts. Like I've listened to Amateur Skeptics, and sometimes they take a slightly more libertarian approach to some ideas than I do. And
they talk a lot about masturbation.
They do, and I appreciate that very much because it's expanding my perspective on things. Like it's one thing to surround yourself with people who are like-minded and who agree with you, but it's also I think it's kind of fun to expand the way I think about things and to challenge my conceptions about the world and about the way that people interact with each other and about what's right and wrong. And I don't like not thinking about these things and just kind of going with the way that I've always thought about these things. And so I like to care about whether or not the way I'm thinking makes sense to me or would make sense to other people, and I think that's why I give a shit, is because I give a shit about whether or not I'm actually making sense to myself even or to other people. And I know that maybe I'm not going to change the world by saying something here, but maybe I'll get somebody thinking on some new direction that they hadn't been thinking before, and they'll write to their congressman, and they'll propose some sort of legislation that'll change the way our political system works. I don't really think I have that kind of influence, but who knows? I mean, just me maybe giving a slight, small amount of a fuck about something is going to inspire somebody. Maybe.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
Yeah, that is the thing. I mean, going after the truth is important. I mean, even if you're not able to convince other people, refining arguments in your own head and talking about things, it's an important mental exercise, I think.
Totally.
Absolutely. I think that just made me think. When you said that, I thought to myself, I guess it's important to do that, to have that mental exercise rather than exercise your outrage, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, and not everybody.
There's no shortage of triggers for outrage, and we all know. But yeah, I'm not saying I'm certainly not saying I don't want to do the show anymore because I'm not pissed off about anything. That's not the case. Just I'm saying I just have trouble.
Focus your pissed offness. Or whatever that word is, pissed offness.
You pick a target and I'll focus on it.
I like to just try to find the humor in situations.
John, you have to focus your piss. Aim the piss.
I'm good at that.
The off that you piss.
Presumably, yes. I'm good at that. Yeah, that reminds me. I'm going to go on a little mini off-topic rant about a place I used to work where some jackass or jackasses apparently would piss on the floor near the urinal for some reason. And I think, we're all over 30 years old and we're all guys, so as a man I can tell, I promise you've had plenty of practice aiming over the years, so why the fuck can you not hit the urinal? Yeah, it's not. That is strictly about, I'm just going to piss on the floor because I don't know why. I still don't understand.
Yeah, first world anarchy.
That's entirely off topic.
I mean, it could be a post-sexual piss stream thing.
But in that office,
are you having sex in the office? God, gross.
The people in that office, I don't want to know who it was. Then that if it was post-sex, just no. Oh God, my brain is full of fuck now. Oh God,
full of fuck. 17 kinds of fuck.
So anyway, my struggle continues to give a fuck. I guess moreover, it's just about I'm trying to be happy. And here's the good news on that front is recently I started a new job, which is a job that I actually enjoy. I'm happy. I'm once again happy to go to work in the morning. I look forward to it, and awesome. That seems to just within the last month and some change have made my overall demeanor much better. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
because the job I had before was boring as hell and made me extremely unhappy. So there's that. Let's move on. And
you're not happy.
It is very hard. Let's not take too much more time on that. We're running pretty well into the in length so far. So we were going to talk for a minute about Planned Parenthood's, plan to harvest baby parts for whatever the fuck they were going to harvest them for. And
oh my God!
I just want to make a brief mention about that. And maybe we'll talk more about it on the next show, because I think it's a topic that bears some discussion for so many reasons.
It out a little more.
Here's one that I don't mind being outraged about, because fucking that is one thing that really just brings up the bile when I think about places they just rail against Planned Parenthood, like Mississippi. Hello, Mississippi. Like you state of uneducated motherfuckers, and like, oh, Planned Parenthood's bad. We have the one. We should get rid of that last one. Like, because you guys are doing great with. Anyway, so.
Yeah, we should
definitely talk about that.
That's not controversial at all.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. It's not just about abortion. I mean, Planned Parenthood is not a euphemism for it. It's not. It's not a cover for just abortion.
Even if they were 100% abortion in what they did, I would still support them. So we should do an episode about that.
Yeah. Let's maybe we'll make that our next episode, because I think we probably all have plenty to say.
Maybe
for the moment, let's talk about some what.
What?
Mike, you got a what for us?
Oh God, yeah. So Kenya's a mess, man. Hey,
remember when I said that about shipping people off to a country with something or other, like jackass Christians who want to?
Yes.
There you go.
So I originally started putting the next story in our notes a week ago, and it was driving me crazy. So our story is Kenyan Catholic bishops are calling for a boycott of the polio vaccine. My brain is full of fuck. All the fucks are in my brain right now. So recently in Kenya, there was a healthcare scare where 30 children were partially paralyzed because they got something that was supposed to be an anti-malarial medicine, but it actually turned out to be something that had paracetamol in it, and paracetamol is what we here in the real world, America, might recognize as acetaminophen, which is the active ingredient in Tylenol.
Which doesn't sound as cool as paracetamol.
Paracetamol, yeah. So the dosage of the drug was right for the right drug, but it was wrong for paracetamol. It was wrong for the drug that it actually was. So it turned out to be a toxic dosage. Quoting from the article, which will be linked in the show notes, we have had situations in some counties where the active ingredient of a drug, as indicated in the label, is not what is inside. In one case, a drug labeled quinine was... Is it quinine or quinine? I don't know. Whatever.
I always pronounce it quinine, but yeah, I'm not sure.
Was tested, and the results showed its active ingredient was paracetamol. The Pharmaceutical Society of Kenya President Dr. Paul Mwaniki said... He said that loopholes in regulation of the pharmaceutical sector had persistently compromised the safety of Kenyans, that infiltration by quacks, questionable accreditation of some practitioners, and importation of drugs outside of registration and import guidelines should be addressed, which makes sense. If you have a broken medical system, you really got to deal with it. You got to fix the guidelines for registration of drugs. You got to fix the importing guidelines. You got to make sure you're not getting a whole bunch of nonsense peddlers in the system. But in response to this situation, some Catholic bishops in Kenya have urged citizens to boycott a mass vaccination against polio. So they want to make sure that the vaccine safety has been confirmed through scientific testing, and they claim that the manufacturer failed to provide requested safety information and that the government had disregarded the request for tests. So these two cases are totally unrelated, and as far as I can tell, nobody in the Kenyan government actually has their back on this. So Dr. Nicholas Muraguri, who is the director of Kenya's medical services, said that, quote, any attempts aimed at mobilizing the public against taking their children for vaccination is a serious violation of the right of the child's health and survival. 100% in support of that. If the vaccines are largely safe and effective, they're not 100%, but that's because no medicine is 100% safe or effective. So if you're against vaccinating your kids when you know that they don't have any sort of predisposition against the vaccine, then you're putting them at risk. But the irony here, of course, is that because of a scare where 30 kids were partially paralyzed in a way that was reversible, there's a whole bunch more kids who are being put at risk of getting polio and becoming permanently paralyzed. And what's even worse is that these Catholic bishops are becoming even less sympathetic.
Hang on before you read this last sentence, because up to this point I think, okay, well, sort of I can understand where this is coming from, where you have this case where, okay, there's these drugs that were labeled one thing, were essentially another, like causes. Okay, yeah, I kind of understand where you're coming from, sort of, on this, and then go ahead with your next one.
Yeah, I can understand the I'm not a scientist, but sort of sense.
Right.
You can understand where someone is getting confused between these different vaccinations, but. Earlier this year, these people claimed that a mass neonatal tetanus vaccination campaign, that is, a tetanus vaccine campaign for pregnant mothers, they were saying that it was a disguised form of population control. That
right.
these vaccines were somehow formulated with chemicals that would sterilize the mothers.
And now they've lost me.
Yes.
I had a moment of, oh, well, maybe I can understand. Oh, never mind. You're just...
For a second there, it almost made sense that they were opposed to the vaccines. Yeah. But there was no evidence whatsoever. They literally just made that part up.
I'm just a simple chicken lawyer.
Oh, God. So vaccines, man. Vaccines are still so, quote-unquote, controversial. It blows my mind. They are a victim of their own success. You see here in the U.S., basically no one has polio. I don't know if there's been a single case of polio in the U.S. in the last 20 years. I'll have to check the statistics, but you see people who say things like, I don't need to vaccinate my kids against the whooping cough. Nobody gets that anymore. The reason they don't get it anymore is because people are vaccinated against the whooping cough. It's not a thing here anymore because of the vaccines. And they're not avoiding it because it's gone or because, oh my God, there's a dog. Sorry. And they're not avoiding it because it's gone or because they can avoid it without the vaccine. They're avoiding it because of the vaccine. But they're going to credit anything but the vaccine because they're afraid of injecting things into their bodies on the basis of some sort of scientific ignorance. And this fear is even worse in countries where people's education about biology, about medicine, is even worse than it is here in the U.S., which is hard to believe because there are so many people here in America who have a Google University degree.
I got nothing for that. That's perfect.
So we've been talking several times tonight about marrying farm equipment. Or lawn care equipment. Mike, why don't you tell us about what this is all about?
Yeah, I found this neat story. Steve King says it's legal, so I tried to marry my lawnmower.
I am disappointed in that popular author.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a neat article. The guy actually went out and tried to marry a lawnmower. I've got the whole story here it'll be in the show.
Why would you marry a piece of lawn care equipment? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, apparently, according to the Iowa Congressman Steve King, that because of the Supreme Court decision made it legal to marry whatever you feel like marrying.
So, I mean, that sounds legit, but please, if you decide to marry your lawnmower, be very careful about how you consummate your relationship.
You don't want to start its motor too soon.
Yeah, you got to take some time, ease it into it.
But yeah, the interesting thing is this guy went down to the county clerk and see about trying to marry a lawnmower, and apparently he got some weird stares and was explained to him that no, he can't because 1, it's an inanimate object. 2, it have to be 18 years old or older. It has to have a government ID. It would have to be able to sign a contract, and it would need a witness to confirm that it can give consent to enter into a contract.
Are we talking about the manufacturer of the lawnmower as a witness, or do they not care about parental consent?
That he didn't get too detailed, but I kind of wonder now. Maybe the manufacturer, since it created it. Oh, wait, this is not a creationist show. What? That's an interesting. That's actually an interesting question. Could the manufacturer? But still, yeah.
The John Deere Corporation, give this lawnmower as a lawfully wedded bride.
You could just see that the CEO pushing the lawnmower down the aisle to the
wearing
groom.
A beautiful wedding dress that's mangled by the blades.
Yeah. No, because the funny thing, and I think actually when I think Michael McElroy was running loose, making fun of stupid people on the internet, and I jumped in and said,
that for a minute.
There's one time I jumped in and says, well,
doesn't sound like me.
A lawnmower would have to be able to. I mean, has to. What was it? What was the? I forget what it was now, but it had to do with maybe marrying a
roto-rooter.
It was marrying something that or no, I think it was probably like a pedophile. Like that. Now it's legal to be a pedophile, but it was like a child would have to be able to give consent legally. Anyone under a legal age, and apparently that varies state to state. But
yeah, this is what a lot of people don't get about it, is that there's this is the very basics of contract law. You've got to have two parties who are of fit mind enough to be able to enter into a contract in order to have a valid contract. That's why people who are mentally disabled cannot sign contracts, and children don't have the mental faculties yet in order to sign contracts.
Can you use facilitated communication to make a mentally disabled person sign a contract?
Yes.
I think that's legit.
Apparently.
That is definitely legit.
I'm going to facilitate my lawnmower so that it can marry me.
There you go.
You have found a loophole.
That's
but
the basis of American law.
But what really gets me about this whole article is that a state senator, that was a state senator, right?
Steve King. Oh yeah, he's a piece of work.
Yeah, or Iowa congressman, who I would venture to guess, since 80% of most of the elected officials are some kind of lawyer or dealt with law, doesn't even understand basic contract law. I mean, we've seen. I mean, Scalia and his opinion on the the gay marriage thing, and we've seen Scalia. Yeah, it's like, do these guys even do they even understand the law anymore? Are they so? I mean, is this Alzheimer's, or maybe something going on where these guys are forgetting what they learned back in law school? I mean, this is all law 101 shit, and then they're sitting here trying to make they're making these outrageous claims. Oh yeah, now you can marry you can marry a lawnmower, you can marry a 10-year-old child, you can do this, you could do that, and not realizing what they're saying
let's be clear, marrying a 10-year-old child, that is traditional biblical definition of marriage.
That's true.
This is not a case of any one person forgot what the laws is. This is a case of, never mind what I know what the actual law is, I'm just going to say this hyperbolic bullshit because it gets people worked up, and that's all it is. It's playing to their fucking audience. They didn't forget what the actual law is. They know what the law is. Scalia knows what the fucking law is. They just they play this shit up to it's just politics. It's all it is. Like,
but there's so many.
Damn it, I'm tired of it. I don't give a shit.
I love so many people talking about how the Supreme Court should be determining the law, the constitutionality of law, and not writing law. It's like what this Supreme Court case about gay marriage was about was equal protection under the law, not a matter of sort of enshrining some new right for some people in the law. This is a matter of interpreting the existing law in a way that is in keeping with our Constitution, not writing new law. But yet you see these like Republican candidates, Republican congressmen talking about how the Supreme Court is writing law instead of interpreting it. No, I'm sorry, you don't understand how this body of government works.
And they weren't even, and they didn't even freak out when Hobby Lobby was made a corporate.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they would, where they could deny contraception. It's like, when
it's in their favor, it's good. When it's against their favor, it's an activist court.
Right, and because
what could possibly go wrong?
Right.
But so Steve King, our lawnmower man here, I thought it would be interesting to point out that he went to school at Northwest Missouri State University for 4 years, majoring in math and biology, but he did not graduate. He left for a degree. He left before earning the degree to work in construction. So if you ever feel that you are unqualified to have a high-ranked position in government, remember this. He was a construction worker who quit college for a construction job.
And I would just like to say that a college degree in and of itself doesn't make you worthy.
That's true, but it's a matter of feeling qualified. He feels qualified for government, and that's what matters.
I have the opposite problem. I feel unqualified for the job that I keep getting hired to do and apparently do fairly well. I just don't feel like I'm qualified for it. And if my boss happens to be listening, I'm just kidding. I absolutely feel like I'm qualified for that job, sir or ma'am.
Yeah. So,
I guess that wraps it up for a return episode. I hope it was everything. I hope it was everything everyone was looking for, and if not, then go fuck yourself.
On the subject of our personal lives, since our last recording, I got engaged. So
congratulations.
Thank you.
It's a lucky lawnmower.
The Lucky Lawnmower is a Ryobi 3 series. It cuts 50 square feet per minute, and it's electric too, which is really great. It really saves a lot of money in gasoline. But
you lucky dog.
That's very eco-minded of you.
And it uses one of those the grass hedge trimmer things, the little like cord that snaps around instead of a blade. So it's a little safer for my junk. But I don't know who's going to give it away at the wedding. I really don't understand how that's going to work. But no, in all seriousness, I did get engaged. So, random question for you guys. It's not in the show notes. What do you think makes sense for a non-religious wedding? A lot of the things I'm running into in the process of planning a wedding is designed for people who are religious. In fact, I don't even know how the hell they got our email address, but Father Richard something, a Catholic priest in the area, sent us a postcard in the mail, which is torn in half here. That
probably registered somewhere, and that's how they got it.
It must be. He sent us a congratulatory note and offered his services as an officiant at our wedding. And neither of us is religious. Neither of us is Catholic. I don't know why he thought this would be appropriate, but he did anyway. And all of the things that I'm finding for weddings are pre-designed for religious people. What do you think non-religious wedding should be like?
Why are you trying to devalue traditional religious marriage? Why? I don't understand what your problem is.
It's because, like Kevin Sorbo in God's Not Dead, I just hate God.
When I got married, we had a minister that did the ceremony, but it wasn't. No, I take that back. Actually, no, the person that did it wasn't. Shit, I remember now. I got married so long ago. Anyway, my point is, mine was not a religious themed marriage by any means. It is possible, and you can, like, wherever you decide to have it, talk to the people there and tell them, like, we're not really religious and we don't want there to be a lot of that. And any reasonable place should be like, okay, we'll just kind of skip the God said this thing and that, and if you want to come to Jesus, come down to the front after the couple kisses or something, whatever. Yeah.
Me and my wife just did we basically looked like we'd been living together for a long time, and we got our marriage license, and we just hired some woman from Unity Church of Christ to just come to our lobby and marry us. And she said a few like quasi-religious types of things, but we just like nodded along just to get it over with.
Also, you could go with an Elvis minister.
Oh.
He'd be like he'll want you guys to promise to love each other tenderly.
Oh God. Yeah, I mean we've bought into the whole almost traditional thing just because our families are kind of traditional. We've got the location, we got the photographer, we've got the food, we've got the DJ, we've got the dresses and everything. So people kind of half joked about us eloping, but I don't know.
Have the efficient wear the horse head behind you.
I would say go.
Oh my God, we could.
If you have to have a little bit of that, fine, but just don't do anything that makes you uncomfortable. Like, unless you're just out to make a point, then allow some of it. Just don't do anything that makes you uncomfortable.
My brother
because someone says it doesn't mean you have to buy into it.
Yeah. My brother's first wedding, his ex-wife now had a man of honor, not a maid of honor, a man of honor, her gay friend in the wedding. So considering that most of my family are pretty devout Catholics, I imagine that was a nice little thumbs up, but not as much.
Right.
But the guy Jesus, he was super cool guy.
Wait, you got your man of honor was Jesus?
I'm a little bit
Jesus.
impressed, I have to say.
Yeah, clap, 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 clap.
It was my brother's, so I never got married. I don't know. I don't care.
You didn't miss out on anything. I'm just saying.
I know. I dodged that bullet.
Yeah. So there's that.
So
I guess that's going to be it for us. So Mike Bowler and Dumbass, what you guys got coming up on your other projects?
I eagerly await your output.
Should I go first?
Yes, please do.
Well, there's a new Amateur Skeptics going to be released fairly soon, I'd imagine. We recorded last week, actually the week before last, so that should be coming out soon. I will be going into a little bit more detail on the Tom DeLay thing. They talked about it without me. The last episode, I put in a few extra things, and I talk about the Confederate flag.
Oh, very nice.
Heritage, not hate. Heritage, not hate. Blah, blah, blah.
I told one of my neighbors the other day, and I think I made him uncomfortable. I didn't ask how he felt about it, but in the middle of the conversation, I said, actually, it's kind of nice of people to have a Confederate flag on their license plate or flying one behind their truck or something like that, so you automatically know they're an idiot and you don't want to talk to them. And yeah, he was just like,
So was it Oklahoma recently where President Obama came to visit and people greeted him with a parade of people carrying the Confederate flag?
Tell me that's not true.
I think it was Oklahoma, and what's funny is that Oklahoma was not a state during the Confederacy. Whatever state this was, they were not a state during the Civil War, and yet they brought people out carrying the Confederate flag.
It's about heritage, not hate.
You motherfuckers lost. That's all I'm saying. You motherfuckers lost. Brandy was telling me there's a town here in Pennsylvania that's celebrating the Whiskey Rebellion. Like, oh, it's in our heritage.
Really?
Yeah, you motherfuckers lost. All right. Like, yeah.
Is it
what
because they're celebrating
like,
whiskey or
they're
what?
Celebrating they got their asses kicked. I don't understand. Like, what exactly? Are you celebrating?
It was when the United States became the United States. They were looking for ways of taxing, so they started taxing whiskey. And
right. I mean, I know the story. I'm just saying, like, is the reason why are you celebrating that now, though? Like, we're celebrating the Whiskey Rebellion. We stood up.
When's the last time someone in America flew the fucking Union Jack because it was heritage instead of hate? I mean, what? We were a British colony, a bunch of British colonies. Where's our Union Jack for heritage?
If I start flying the Union Jack, will Britain come over? Will the Empire come over and claim this state back as one of its colonies, please?
I like the royal family. I'm good with them.
Anyway.
Well, Illinois, it was France. So what's their flag? So.
Jealous of the Queen on our money, are you?
Is the French flag a white flag of surrender?
That was a low blow.
Yeah.
Low-hanging fruit. Low-hanging fruit.
Freedom prize.
So, Mike Bowler, what you got coming up next on Skeptics, Conspiracy, and whatever else?
Okay, a while ago I had the listener show, listener-inspired stuff, and I'm trying to get. I was working on it today, trying to get left-wing conspiracies. Trying to put that together.
The Gemos.
Yeah. And
vaccines.
Yeah, I'm really struggling with it because actually trying to find a real live, honest to goodness, pure left-wing conspiracy, I can't find them.
Oh, I can find one for you. So recently, U.S. Right to Know is this organization that is part of the Organic Consumer Association. They put a Freedom of Information Act request out for a whole bunch of researchers into genetically modified organisms. And Kevin Folta is this guy who's become really popular in the skeptical community because he's a scientist who is pro-GMO. He's a really good communicator for science and why the anti-GMO crowd is anti-science instead of just pro-information.
Yeah, I've been through that one. Again, the problem, I'm looking for like purely, because this
conspiracy. Well, there's the whole idea that so a lot of the left-wing conspiracies that I've heard are far out into left field appropriately. There's the idea that Monsanto is part of this effort to reduce the population because
it's not working.
It's not able. Not only that GMOs are unhealthy, it's that GMOs are explicitly designed to make people unhealthy and to kill people and to reduce the population.
Yeah. It's the dumbest conspiracy theory. Whatever you attribute that to,
But that's
what's the chemtrails? The chemtrail. Oh, it's pollution or it's population control. Motherfuckers, it's not working.
Right? We're 7 billion plus at this point.
Yeah.
Are you kidding? What population is being controlled? But the same conspiracy that you attribute to the right wing and the New World Order, the whole reduction of population thing, like the chemtrail conspiracy where you're spraying something on people to make people infertile to reduce the population, that is happening in the left wing with people who say that is being done through genetically modified foods or through vaccination.
Right.
And there are people who say that Bill Gates has promoted this program of vaccination in the third world as an effort to make people infertile and to reduce the population. So,
as someone who has no kids and doesn't want kids, good.
Well, the thing is that
you motherfuckers.
That there's the right wing that also espouses a lot of that same stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm saying, I'm trying to
around.
Yeah. The one train.
I think a lot of conspiracies there is a right wing and a left wing aspect to it, and they focus on different parts of it.
Right.
And they come to the same conclusions, which is so weird. It's
Yeah.
But they're often at odds and
theory.
ends with each other too.
Yeah, like if you accepted both conspiracies, you would be contradicting yourself. But they call it the horseshoe theory, that when you go so far to the left or so far to the right, you curve around again to the same place. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right. But I'm trying to find like purely left wing, and I think my line of it, and I'm trying to make it sound right, is I think this police situation is maybe a clue to what, because there's a book, Days of Rage, Brian Burrow, he did this real neat expose on the radical underground, and there's a lot of neat stuff about race, the radical left and what they were believing in. And there's this thing about it's kind of interesting, is that in the 1960s, the idea that police were bad in doing, abusing black people, brown people, whatever you want to say, abusing people, was a conspiracy, and no one else outside, no one else believed it. Actually, it's not really it is a conspiracy, a real conspiracy. It's not really it's not one of these Illuminati conspiracies, but there was an actual
conspiracy actually existed.
I'm trying to go down that angle, but not trying to sound too racist talking about it. That's the scary thing, because it's in the beginning it doesn't, because Los Angeles was notorious for pulling over black kids, pulling them out of their cars, and arresting them for no other reason but because they were black on a street.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about
that's a DWB.
about that.
Yeah, and the black that's what gave the rise to the Black Panthers, who began patrolling the streets. And when these cops started doing this, you had 5 or 6 black guys with automatic weapons on the other side of the street watching this going on, and it scared the shit out of the cops. And that's how the Black Panthers really got the grassroots part. Then they began to expand into more socially more socially acceptable, yeah. Food programs for people out of work, things like that, helping the elderly, keeping their homes and stuff like that. So, but there's like this neat, because it was also, well, I'll save it for the show, because I'm now starting to go down all sorts of there's all these little rabbit trails that I've been following and trying to pull it together.
We brought up a couple of things tonight that could be on their own episodes. I think the whole abortion thing and the race relations thing, we could do whole episodes on those.
Which I think we should.
Totally.
Yeah, I think. Well, Planned Parenthood. I think Planned Parenthood / abortion. We should do an episode on that for sure.
Yeah, let's do that
next.
We'll do
that on our next one. Yeah. All right. Well, I guess that's gonna wrap it up for us for tonight. And,
can I also make a plug for the Unseen podcast?
Please do.
I just started doing this. There's Rod. What's his
Rod
name?
last name?
Bob. Is it Bob Carr? I'm trying to remember now. But he does the WoW. He does the WoW podcast, and he's kind of branched into this. Again, it's like what we're doing now. It's he does a hangout where a bunch of skeptics and science-minded people join in and talk about science, and I've done a few of those, so definitely try to check that one out.
Excellent.
And no more BitSpot podcast for me. So if you haven't figured that out yet.
They went off in their own wild world without you.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's too bad.
I'm
They're missing out.
Yeah, I'm not losing any sleep over that one.
Well, Cephas is gone off on his own way, and it's interesting stuff to listen to still. Without you, Mike. Sorry.
That's okay.
I stopped listening as soon as I heard Mike wasn't on there anymore. It lost its appeal for me after that. So.
Yeah,
All right.
It doesn't. Yeah.
So we're wrapping it up now.
Last and not least. I have nothing, John. I just wanted to punk with you.
I hate you. I hate you guys.
Oh, and by the way,
one more.
All right, goddammit, we're wrapping it up. Thanks everyone for listening. We'll catch you next time. Bye.
Love you guys. Bye bye.